Why, we're here, we've made it, Nick. You do not want to know, guys, the feeling is to see you all being live. It's been, Nick, how can I describe it? The nerves have been pumping for the last half an hour. The internet has been on and off. And for some of you that might know, I'm sitting in the wilderness, in the mountains in the middle of Spain. And there's been power outages. We've got storms coming in. And God, my heart is beating. Nick, welcome to the show. I think we're there. I think we will manage to get through the next hour. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed, David. Episode 2. It's a tricky start, eh? Someone said during the week, it's live, right? This is the show where anything can happen. And I guess the proviso is anything can happen as long as you've got an internet connection.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Big week, right?
Well, it's been
big week for everybody. It certainly has. Seems to be glimmers of hope out there, seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. We've had the budget in the UK, which we're going to talk about in a little bit of depth. But this show's all about the audience, and we want to hear from you. How's it going? How's your week going? What are your big wins this week? What are your big challenges this week? Feel free to put your comments in the comment box. And we'll flag them, raise some questions, let us know how you're getting on. When we start talking about the budget, which of course we will, let us know how it is for you. Is it good? Is it bad? Do you want some more? And we'll pull those comments into the show.
Absolutely. So, yes, if you're looking for a shout out on air while we're live over the next hour, pop those comments into the chat box. Nick and I will be picking those up as they come in, and we will be sharing those. If they're, well, as long as they're reasonably clean, I always say keep them clean. Nick always shakes his head and says, no, put what you like in that chat box. That's the whole fun of a live show. We want to see, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's happening in your world, certainly during this point of lockdown. So do communicate, do let us know what's going on. And we have an exciting lineup. We have 2 amazing guests joining us very shortly. One of those is already sitting backstage in our green room, probably very eager and very keen to come on stage and share a little bit more about their journey, their business, and how they've been so successful over the last 25 years of running businesses and networking.
Very true. And just as an extra bonus this week, because of the tech issues, you froze there, David, for a while on my screen, and you're now catching up with yourself. Caption competition, okay? If you see David or I freeze, okay, feel free to put in the comment box the ideal caption. It was great, David. You were like this. Brilliant, it was. As you were just very kindly introducing, giving us a bit of a preview of who our first guest is going to be. 25 years in business. You've got to know a thing or two, haven't you? You've got to travel a bit to have 25 in business and still going very, very strong. So I'm very excited about our first guest. So other than the tech issues, Dave, how's your week been?
Well, Nick, it's been a super busy week. Tech issues, yeah, it's just the least of my problems. Finding enough time in the day, I think with most of us who are running businesses, we find that we're probably Zooming quite a lot. We're on Teams meetings left, right and centre, and trying to find the perfect balance and the perfect equilibrium for that is pretty tough, isn't it? After this event, when we wrap up at 5 o'clock this evening, I've got to get changed, put my suit on, and I'm off to a question time event that I'm hosting this evening. Well, fingers crossed, subject to internet connectivity. And what about you, Nick? How's things been going for you? Change of scene?
It resonates, mate, because it's busy, but it's difficult to kind of keep that motivation going. A lot of people use the term Groundhog Day because we're still locked down, we're still in the office, and we're working from home, we haven't got the commute, and it all feels a bit same. Many Teams, Zoom calls, whatever they might look like. And I speak to a lot of people, and they're really struggling to stay motivated. They're still kind of trying to get those creative juices flowing day after day when it all seems a bit similar. So once again, if you're watching and you've got a great suggestion of how do you stay motivated when every day seems the same, I'd be really interested to hear your response. How's that tech holding up, David?
I think we're holding up. It seems that we might be okay, but it's do you know what? If we get through the show, Nick, and we manage to stream at least my voice, I think we've succeeded. And anyway, Nick, I have a face for radio, so if you can't, we're going to be perfectly okay. No issues there at all. Now, Nick, should we kind of get ready? Should we get ready to bring our guest from the green room backstage and bring her onto the live studio floor and find out a little bit more about her business and what makes her such a success and also such a lovable individual as well?
Let's do this.
Okay, so we have drum rolls, please. Welcome to one of our, it's going to be some great conversation because I've known this lady. Nick, I know you've known this lady for a number of years now. We won't give away too much, but welcome to our stage, Mrs. Glenys Chatterley from EBN. Glenys, welcome to our show.
Yay!
Hi, Glenys.
Hello,
lovely to see you. It's magical to see you as always. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Yeah. I'm sort of, now I've got used to all this bit. I'm liking this new rhythm of life. I can mix up work, exercise, lying down on couches, watching bad TV, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think so many positives, if you want to look in that direction, coming out of this kind of environment. I see a lot of stories, positive stories. Some of those on the back of I've got more time. I've got more time to spend with the family, good or bad, but I've got more time to think about this. I've got more time to think about all sorts of different things. And from a business perspective, tough because everything shifted, but also quite useful because it made you time to really think through exactly where are you going and how are you going to get there. So Glenys, to start us off, just tell us a little bit about EBN and your 3 rules, if you wouldn't mind, because I like these.
So do you mean my networking rules or my personal rules? Which one are we going to go?
Let's start with your personal rules. Let's get to know you.
So I came from the corporate world not knowing what I was going to do. And I left the corporate world and I had all the trappings of success, big office, secretaries, parking space in London, all of that stuff. And I went on a really great holiday and I came back and I thought, well, I'm not having fun. So I started to negotiate my way out. So I've been in business now for over 25 years. I'm self-employed, different businesses. I've bought businesses and developed them and sold them. I've started businesses and they've been rubbish and I've closed them. I've started business and they've been successful and I've carried on with them and I've sold a couple of them. So at the moment I'm with EBN, Effective Business Network. So we're groups of people who get together over breakfast, face to face, to help each other, support each other, give advice and get work for each other. And picking up on your point, at the start of all this malarkey, I had on paper I didn't have a business and I had to deal with that, and personally I was classed as extremely vulnerable, which some of my friends thought was very weird, and so couldn't go out. But when I left the corporate world, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew it wasn't that. So I set myself 3 rules and decided whatever I was going to do in the future, it had to fit with these. So number 1 is it must be fun. Because if it's not fun, I could have stayed where they gave me a bucket of money, guaranteed every month, and I could have twiddled my thumbs. I didn't, but I could have. So it's got to be fun. The second one is I never do anything I don't want to do with anybody I don't want to do it with. because I think when you work for other people, you don't do unethical things, but you do things in a way that your organisation says you have to do them, not necessarily in the way that you would do them. And the third is I'm never working full-time and permanently for anybody ever again. So with that in mind, I sort of went, what's next? And it's been an adventure. It's been joy, it's been anguish, it's been tears, it's been laughter, but by God, it's been fun.
I'm absolutely with you there, Glenys. It took me a lot longer to get to that point where if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. I wish at the start of my entrepreneurial journey, I'd listened to your talk just then and said, right, this is the secret sauce. It's got to be fun. Don't work for people that you don't want to work for, and ideally, don't work full time. Right?
Yeah.
I think any entrepreneur listening, any startup listening, could take those 3 pieces of advice, write them big on the wall, and stick by them, and have a much, much, much better creative business journey than certainly I did in the early days.
Yeah, I think what somebody told me fairly recently, that something I'd said to him a number of years ago had really stuck. And what I said to him is no, the word no is a full sentence. You don't have to explain it. You just have to say no. And if you don't want to do something, say no, because people go, well, I thought it was nice. We have gut reaction, and I believe that people call it intuition and stuff. I think what gut reaction is, intuition, whatever you call it, it's actually your experience going through your brain and going, oh no, that doesn't seem like a good idea, because do you remember that time when I was being chased by a dinosaur and that happened and it wasn't great? So I think you should listen to your instincts, and I think if you think it's probably not a good idea, don't do it, and just say no. Really, but you meet such wonderful people as you go through life and you go through business. Why would you want to spend time with people who don't make you have a good time? You know, they probably make other people have a great time, and that's fine, because, you know, we're all different. But I surround myself with positive people. And the other thing I realized the other day, I really like people who make me laugh, because our strapline is you don't have to be serious to be serious about business.
Yeah, I think there's not enough, certainly at the moment, not enough laughter and fun in business. I've worked similar to you, Glenys. I've worked in the corporate world, and God, it's gloomy. It's far too much misery. People saying yes to stuff that they don't enjoy. People working for people that they'd rather not, but not having the courage to say no to that. And I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? So I've said yes to a lot of things I should never have said yes to. So these are great nuggets, right? So you're a very positive person, and then the pandemic happens, and you've got to change your business, I guess. Is that overnight? You've got to change it to recreate what networking looks like? Oh, I think it might be Glenys's turn to freeze. Are you frozen as well, David?
I'm still here, Nick. I'm trying to say as least as possible, just on the basis that technical issues seem to be upon us today, and another challenge for the business world, of course.
It is. So, especially now, right? So, what on earth can you achieve in business without a decent internet connection? Okay, it didn't take us long to massively rely on that. So, while we wait for the technology to catch up and Glenys to answer that question, if she heard it. So the situation is, come March, we can't meet anymore. So I've been to a lot of networking events. Brilliant. Over breakfast, meet a load of other businesses, have great conversations, and then suddenly it has to all go online. And I'm a human communication specialist. So essentially that means all of my superpowers that I've honed over many years are based around face-to-face interactions. And then suddenly we're thrust into our very online world. So the dynamic is massively, massively different. So if we can get Glenys back, hopefully she'll be able to tell us, how do you transition from a face-to-face business to an online business? What's good about that? And ideally, what parts of that are going to stay? And here's a question to the audience, right? So tough times, the last year, tough, right? Chances are you've pivoted, you've changed direction, you've done things differently. What is it you've done differently now that is going to stay? This time next year, you'll still be doing it, and the following year, okay? Because it's turned out it's good for your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really, really valuable point there. And, you know, I think one of the things that I would be looking at doing, is putting in some extra connectivity, some resilience to my place over here in Spain to make sure that when we get these outages, I've got some way of streaming. And yes, before people start popping in the chat box, yes, I've got 4G here, but of course I live in the middle of the mountains and that's not awesome either. So, you know, we are in these kind of challenging times where things are not quite perfect, but we have to make do. And, you know, that's what we do as business owners. We have to, you know, find ways around obstructions and obstacles and, you know, work out, the solutions to the challenges that are in front of us. So I think on that note, Nick, I'm going to see if I can get Glenys back because she has now disappeared from she's disappeared from the stage and she's disappeared from the green room and maybe she's just disappeared altogether. But I think we go to a quick ad break, Nick, and then when we come back, we'll hopefully get Glenys back on the show and we'll be talking about what's in the news as well. So here, off to a quick ad. He says, here we go. Technology at its best.
And here I am, I'm back. And there'll be people who watched last week, right, which was week number 1, and they'll be going, what's happened to you guys? Last week you were so slick. It was on point. And now suddenly it's all a bit different. He's back. I don't know where Glenys is gone, but she's got some answers for us, right? She's about transforming your business, making it work. 25 years experience. She must have made businesses work in all sorts of different environments. So, Dave, let's cut to what's in the news, right? Big news this week. Can't avoid it. Yesterday's budget. Rishi Sunak steps up. We wait with open ears to see what's he gonna do. How's he gonna help us, business owners, startups, self-employed entrepreneurs? What's in it for us? What were the highlights for you, Dave?
Well, I think there's lots of highlights. And before we kind of run through these, I'm going to put the question out there to our listeners and viewers. Do you think the budget was a fair budget? Has it helped you, or do you think it's going to help your business? And is the roadmap, the future that lies before us, going to bring things back to some type of normality? What is normality? What does that look like for you? Because I think lots of businesses have had to pivot over the past 12 months. You know, we're not far off now reaching that 23rd of March, which is a year on from when we went into the first lockdown back in 2020. And the budget was designed really to hopefully give hope to those small to medium-sized enterprises, those larger corporates, to keep people employed. And we know those unemployment numbers are at an all-time high. And dare I say, if the furlough, which was one of the things that has been, one of the talking points of the budget, if that wasn't extended, would we have seen the losses of more employed jobs? And I think the answer would have been yes, huge. So what was some of the main aspects of the budget? Well, the furlough was extended to the end of September. So that's good news. If you are on furlough, you can continue on your holiday for a bit longer. You can, sit at home in your underpants and, do whatever it is that you do. But on a serious note, obviously, this is going to help businesses retain their staff. And as the economy starts to open back up, it's going to allow them to bring those furloughed staff, team members back into the workplace on a gradual basis. Because I think if you're a restaurant, for example, and you open your doors, you're going to still be limited to numbers, and you're going to have to follow COVID rules and regulations. You couldn't bring all your staff back. It's unlikely anyway. Maybe there's a restaurant owner out there, they can put that in the chat box and let us know. But would you be able to bring all your staff back the day that you open the doors to the general public again? And of course, that's hospitality in general as well. It's just using a restaurant as an example.
Yeah, so for me, David, the furlough is a bit of a lifeline, right? So it's been massively useful, certainly for those businesses that their industry's just disappeared. Right, so I run an events business, and it doesn't matter what we do. There is no events business out there. The industry is yet to return. Legally can't return, and physically can't return either. So for businesses where you've turned around and suddenly your industry is gone, furlough absolutely fantastic. The fact it's been extended, more breathing space. Let's hope come September, a lot of those industries will be back. If the roadmap, if we stay on track, we'll be back, and business will start to return to normal, whatever that might look like. But this gives us certainly gives our events business some breathing space. If you can kind of hold tight and hang on, there'll be businesses out there that furlough, I guess, won't be enough. Won't be enough to save your business. You might have to transition to something else. And then from a business perspective, come July, come August, a little bit more contribution from the employer might make it a bit more difficult. But for me, I think that's a big plus, right? Thanks, Rishi. I'm liking that furlough extension.
Yeah, I think one of the things to pick up, which didn't happen, which I know lots of our listeners and viewers will be kind of sitting there going, come on, you've got to get this sorted, is that there's no support there. There's still no support for company directors of limited companies. That is something that these individuals, these directors, have been forgotten. And there's lots of lobbying organisations out there, the Federation of Small Businesses being one of those, which I obviously have close connections to, and they are pushing for this to happen. So they are working on behalf of those small business owners, or those business owners, not necessarily small businesses, but those business owners, to get that sorted. And I just think it's a missed opportunity. They need to look at this and do something now, because otherwise it's going to be too late. And we're going to see these smaller businesses close their doors forever. And of course, they've got people that are employed, because, they're employing, vast numbers, and they may be on furlough at the moment, but they're not going to ever come back. So the furlough will just disappear, and them employees are never going to come back to the workplace because there's no job for them to come back to either. And then unemployment figures are going to soar. It's quite important those company directors are remunerated for running their business. And unfortunately, at the moment, they're missing out and losing out. So other things to look at before we think about, we've got Glenys back in the green room, by the way, so we'll see if we can get her back on for a quick debrief. Thank you for coming back, Glenys. And we also have Christine, our next guest as well, sitting in the green room, waiting to come on to the show as well. So we're going to just cover a couple more under the budget. The business rates relief has been extended. So that's great. If you are a commercial property, at least you're going to get the rate relief for that little bit longer. Extension of stamp duty. If you are moving property, personally looking to move, and you're going through that process, you've just been thrown a lifeline. You've got a little bit longer to get that transaction completed and save on that stamp duty as well. Extension to the 5% VAT for hospitality and other related businesses as well. And lastly, anyone that's self-employed, you're going to get a fourth and fifth payment coming your way. So that might help as well to keep the roof over your head and the food on the table, so to speak. Yeah, so that's the budget news, Nick. There's lots more, but we haven't got time to kind of go through every single element of the budget.
I think good news for self-employed, especially if you missed that first time around. Not great news if you're a company director of a limited company There does seem to be people falling through the cracks still. In the audience, if you're a company director, let us know. What are you up to? How's it going? If you're newly self-employed or you've done your first tax return and you can now get a self-employment grant, let us know how that makes a difference to you. So how are we doing in the green room, David? Should we get Glenys back?
Let's get Glenys back on, because you asked her that question and we never got the answer. So here comes Glenys. Let's bring her back on. Glenys, welcome back.
Hello. I have no idea what happened. It went click whir. You both disappeared from me live, and I was sat here talking to myself. I didn't know whether you could hear me, see me. Yeah, so
we missed you.
Glenys. Bless.
So I was
posing. Was it so long ago?
I was posing a question, and then you froze. Okay, and it was just reaching into your vast experience, right? So you run a networking organization that has to shift totally to an online environment come March. The question was, and it's a question to the audience as well, so the changes that you had to make, any of those you're going to keep when we're allowed in the same room again?
Okay, so we're face-to-face breakfast. One of the things I'm trialing is an afternoon networking event that anybody can come to, and that's going to be virtual always. It's one of these where you can sit at a table and have a chat or go speed networking. We tried, but failed because the times moved to when we launch a group, instead of going straight into face-to-face, have 4 virtual meetings to start us off and get us going. So that's going to be, but the body of our work will be face-to-face networking. That's what we do. And all my members are chomping at the bit to get in a room with the other people they know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be one when we're allowed back in. It'll be very, very popular. I'm not sure how much business we'll talk about. We're just
we'll just see each other and hug each other and shake hands. I actually did a blog saying, "Is it ever okay to lick people?" Because I just want to check the parameters before I'm actually in that situation. One guy said he's going to bring wet wipes, so it's fine.
So, Glenys, is it okay to lick people?
I think it depends on the person. And also, if you lick me, you're going to get about 10 quid's worth of makeup on your tongue. So probably not a good idea.
Absolutely.
The only business show on air right now talking about licking each other. This is live, isn't it?
Brilliant. Your audience.
Brilliant. Hey, I tell you what, if you've missed it, you better catch up. Wow. That's Glenys, ever so grateful for you coming on the show. I know it's been a bit of a challenge, technology-wise, but we're in challenging times.
I'll come back again. You won't get rid of me.
For sure, because there's things that we haven't managed to talk about, which I'd love to talk about, because you don't stand still, do you? Quite literally and physically. And I've seen your career and the things that you're working on and speaking about. That range is just getting broader and broader, which is fabulous stuff to talk about.
And I'm getting smaller and smaller because, as you know, I've now lost 10 stone. So, it's good. It's good. Life is good.
So, Glenys, before we go then, can you just explain a little bit more about that? The journey you went on of losing 10 stone.
Okay, so I've always been fat. I was born into a family of short, fat people, so I didn't know any better. And I've always been either on a diet or off a diet. That's sort of been my life since I was 11. And then about a good few years ago, what I realised was that I was really, really good at being on diets and really, really, really good at coming off diets and gaining the weight back. So I stopped being on a diet, worked my own plan out, and now I stick to that. So I like to eat. I can eat everything I want, but I have to do exercise that balances that up. So some days I have a really healthy diet, and most days I don't. If I want cake is my lunch instead of being as well as a lunch. So, and now I'm helping people because Nick made reference to talking about. I was talking to people about it, and that was an awful lot of work for very little getting back to me. So I launched probably in 2 weeks a new business that's helping people with workbooks and one-to-ones to put their own plan together.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Very exciting. Yeah.
So this is what happens, right? When you're an entrepreneur, okay, you don't sit still. You come up with ideas, and ideally, these ideas help other people, and then you know how to turn that knowledge and experience into physical product or online product that actually makes a big difference to your audience.
Yeah, and also I'm a business, and so there has to be. I do charity stuff, but my businesses are not a charity, so they have to make money. And if you're not making money in your business, you've got a hobby or you're a charity. So you need to make that decision. And so I mean, when I was doing my professional speaking about it, I was putting in a lot of hours and getting nothing financially back. And it's like I got the warm glow of helping people, but I actually was running a business. So I've just transferred it into things that I can help people, and in a more structured way on a one-to-one group basis, and they can put money in my coffers, which I will spend unwisely.
Nicely done. And that's another massive lesson for our young business startup entrepreneurs. Okay, decide, are you a business, are you a charity, or is it a hobby? And there'll be a lot of people out there thinking that I'm enjoying it, but I'm not making any money.
And can I just say my last thing, because I know you won't chuck me out, and I know you've got Christine, who is fabulous. But I will say, the one thing I always say to people who are thinking of setting up a business, the money that you're going to have to put in the business, can you afford it to throw it out of the window? Because if you can't, don't do it. That's what business is sometimes like. You put money in and you lose it. So if you can't afford to lose it, don't start your own business or don't use that money.
Wise words, Glenys. We definitely have you back on the show, because these are just gems. You're sharing massive gems with us, and I hope you're taking notes at home, because that will save a lot of people from throwing a large investment out of the window.
Yeah.
So thank you ever so much. I don't know if are you back, David? You still with us?
I'm still here. I'm still hearing voice. I just think I'm kind of frozen, very still. And so yeah, Glenys, thank you so much. As always, a pleasure to have you join us. And yes, we will get you back, most definitely, and we will iron out these technical creases for future episodes as well. So when we get you back, you'll be there in your perfect glory, where we'll be able to have a great conversation. Maybe we'll be in the same room together. How will that work? That would be amazing.
Oh, you just trying to tempt me now, aren't you? Fabulous.
But we will get in touch, Glenys. We will speak before that, I know. But we will welcome you back with open arms. So, Glenys, thank you very much for joining us. Nick, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick ad break. And when we come back, we're going to bring our next special guest on. Right, we're back. I'm still here. Nick, are you still there? Are we
still here? Very excited. Love chatting with Glenys. It's always enlightening and, in her words, always fun. Has to be, always is. It's brilliant. And yeah, look forward to having her back on the show.
Absolutely.
And not just one great guest, but two great guests.
Yes, absolutely. Now, before we bring on our next special guest to join us in the virtual studio, to join us in the hot seats, I know Glenys is all about having fun. And I know one of your mantras in business is also about having fun as well. I suppose the question I'm going to put out there to all the other business owners out there, should business just be serious? Should it be fun? Should it be a blend of both? I'd love to know what other people are thinking. So if you want to discuss that, pop it in the chat box. Let us know. Should business be fun? Should it be serious? Or should it be a hybrid and a mix of both? Glenys says it's got to be fun. But of course, there's got to be, networking. You've got to have the serious side from it as well. But it's got to be fun. Anyway, enough of that. Let's welcome our next guest into our virtual studio. Someone I've known for probably about 10 years now. Welcome, Christine.
Woo! Hello.
Now, welcome, Christine. Let's put you centre stage. Makes much more sense. You being in the middle of the screen and here to tell us more about Christine, the Creative Startup Academy. And Christine, we've known each other, I want to say it's about 10 years. When we first met back through a university we were both supporting. And since then, we've kind of done lots of various things together. We've ended up on the same projects or in the same room networking. And we've had some fantastic conversations, some fantastic discussions. But I suppose what we want to do is find out a little bit more about Christine and tell everybody what it is that you do and how you can help people.
Let's see. I don't know if I can help anyone. Everyone needs to help themselves. No, I'm just joking. But also, just before I start with myself, I just wanted to emphasize what Glenys said and also talk about this fun bit or seriousness and answer it maybe from my side. Fun is one of my core values for my business and also for myself. I think especially if you have your own business, you have to have fun inside, because otherwise you don't enjoy it, and that means your motivation goes down, and that means you probably are not very good at what you're doing, and people will feel that as well. So I think it needs to be fun, but also, and I say the same thing that Glenys said to all of my clients, well, how are you going to make money? Because if you're not making money, it's a hobby and not a business. And that's okay. If you want to have an expensive hobby or a time-intensive hobby, then you can do that. But that's just to go back into a few things that Glenys said and also what you just mentioned. So who am I? I am Christine. And I am originally from Germany. I lived in the UK, and this is where we have met. David, Nick, I've met you virtually after I've left the UK. I'm now based in Italy, which has a lot to do with all kind of things and what I've done in my life. But basically, my background is marketing and advertising. So I've worked in design agencies as a account manager, let's say. And I was basically translating client language into designer language and the other way around. And at some point, I thought, it's not too rewarding. I want to have more impact on people's life. I want to be able to change people's life. I love talking to people, meeting people, transferring knowledge, and having a lot of fun doing that. So I did NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and they also offered a coaching course. And then I was like, what's this? Okay, let's train to be a coach. I did that as well. And then it all fell into place of starting working with entrepreneurs and startups, which I love, really, because entrepreneurs and startups are very passionate about what they're doing. And a lot of times they also want to have a specific impact on the environment, society, or something else. And they have all this drive and positive energy that rubs off on me, and also that I need to continue with what I'm doing. So meeting people, also talking to people like you guys, is giving me all this energy I need. And this is basically what I kept doing. I created the Creative Startup Academy, supporting startups and entrepreneurs with starting their own business, getting more clarity. Also, of course, because that's my background, with marketing strategies and helping them to filter that out. So you could use, a client of mine called herself a coach-sultant. And I quite like that, because I'm coaching, but I'm also a consultant. I'm not going to go into the differences now, but that's what I do in all kind of different ways by doing things like this, by working one-to-one with people, by offering online courses, by having a podcast, by writing books, by doing workshops, by working with universities, and so on. That's me, basically, in a nutshell.
You, Christine, you are one of the busiest people I've ever met.
Absolutely.
That list of there'll be business owners watching right now thinking, hold on a minute, she does podcasts, she does workshops, she does online this and online that, 12 books, which we'll come back to in a second. And they'll probably be scratching their heads thinking, how on earth does she find the time to do all of those different things? So how do you manage so many different things into your day?
Yes, a lot of times people ask me if I have more hours in the day than other people. I can come back with a fun answer saying, "Oh, I'm German," but I'm not going to play this card because it's not true that all Germans are efficient. I can tell you that. The main thing is, I think that I have this drive and this passion for what I do. Which does not necessarily mean I work 16 hours a day or something. It's not that way. Especially, I used to work a lot, and I also used to work on weekends. Then I thought, oh, I'm going to take back my Sunday, and then I only worked Saturdays. Then I thought, oh, I'm going to take back my Saturday. And now, since I'm living in Italy with my boyfriend, who has a job that is, let's say, from 9 to 5, working remotely, I fit into that. And all of a sudden, I have even my Saturday back in the evenings. And that is lovely. So I do work normal working hours, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. No, sometimes a bit less is not true. Usually a bit more or the same. But I think with this drive and passion and the people that I meet and loving what I'm doing so much helps me to be very efficient. And also I wrote a book about how to be more productive, because so many people ask me this question. And even though there's so many productivity books out there, I thought, okay, I'll put it all together. I'm trying to automate a lot of things. I'm trying to use external tools. I'm always looking into, okay, how can I improve something? I also look into, okay, what is really not necessary to do, because it's also important to have a not to-do list, because a lot of times we get hung up on creating to-do lists or to-day lists, and not thinking about, okay, do I have to actually do this? Sometimes if we have a task that we don't like doing, we procrastinate it, and all of a sudden, oh, it's more important to clean the floor than to do this task. So I'm trying to do all the things that I don't like first, to have this off my back as well. But in general, I'm just super structured and have this vision of, for example, creating an online course, or creating short 1-minute videos with a lot of value for social media, for example. And that means I plan the topics. I create a stack of paper with the bullet points of what I want to say for each of the videos. And then I film 35 videos in one go in 4 hours, for example. And then I have this done. And then I'm going to edit them. And then I can use them and put them into the mask and stuff. And then I upload them to my drive. So I have them, and then I can publish them when I need them. So that's what I've done, for example, last year. I created the videos for the entire year. I still have some to post for that. So I'm trying to focus on, and I was just recording a podcast actually before this, where this was also a tip from my podcast guest. I tried to single task instead of multitask. I was the queen of multitasking, but now I'm single tasking, and I'm even more productive because you can give 100% to what you're doing instead of something else.
Wow, Christine. And that's how being busy can be managed. And it's not about, it's about being smart at the end of the day, and that's what you've done. You've been smart. You said, right, I'm going to do a filming day. I'm going to film everything in one go or over a course of a number of hours, stack it all up, got it all ready. I assume, Christine, you have a closet, and then, of course, you film one, you get changed, put on the next blouse or change your top or, whatever it is. So you can kind of obviously have, like they've been filmed at different dates and different times. Love the automation part. That's my background, technology, automation, systemization. But Christine, I do know you have a little bit of magic as well. Magic helps your business flow. And well, tell us more about these, because these are a big focal point in your business and your mascot, aren't they? So tell us a little bit more about. There we go. I knew you'd have one, the unicorn. And how did it come to be such a big thing around your business?
Yes. Okay, thank you. That's very nice. So unicorns are also a term in the startup world, of course, and it means you're like $1 billion startup. However, I have to say I used to use the unicorns even before this term was coined, and I don't want to relate it to that. For me, it's about the magic that they bring to people's life, because they're fantastic creatures that make you believe in magic and stuff. And of course, I do have some here. One is Gavin, my co-founder. I made him officially a co-founder on the website as well. He's still in England, actually, but I will have him sent back to me. I have lately acquired this. My mom sent that to me in the post, and I'm just going to demonstrate. Hello, I'm the unicorn of Christine. Hello, I'm the unicorn of Christine. So this is an amazing unicorn that repeats everything that you're saying in a funny way and dances even with it. It's more really about having some fun in the business, having a creative way maybe to talk to people, because he's also in my online courses, Gavin, for example, explaining exercises to people to make it all a bit less serious and more enjoyable, and actually being able to listen for a while to something. And especially if you're creating online courses where people sit with a workbook and need to listen to some videos, then that can be quite hard. And it all started, I think, because I saw this always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn, then always be unicorn. And I really like this. And all of a sudden, people picked this up and started giving me unicorn gifts for everything, for my birthday, for in between, for something. So it all just happened, and I wasn't intended. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to make this my thing, and I'm going to have a unicorn. And actually last year, I got this lovely ball that has a floating unicorn in, and it's a bouncy ball that also lights up in different colors and has glitter in. And people think like, okay, why are you showing me this? My boyfriend gave that to me in lockdown and said, okay, remember, you can create magic even in the smallest spaces. And I really like that. And I always have this in my hand when I am on Zoom or any other platforms, because I like having something in the hand. But also it reminds me of this. We all need to create the own magic that we want in our life, and specifically if you're a startup, that's even more true, because you're creating something that needs to bring you money and has probably an impact, even if it's just for yourself, not for others, and you need to have some magic around it. And sometimes it's good to daydream, because out of daydreams you can create goals, and out of goals you can create milestones to get there.
This is just, once again, just like Glenys, a talk filled with gems that I'm making notes as you talk and thinking, yep, just a reminder, yep, should have a not to do list, single task rather than multitask. And you can tell that, you know, that focus, the clarity, the structure of what you do just kind of just oozes out of you. And then you throw in the unicorns. Now,
Yes.
I'm a modern zombie slayer. Okay, so the modern zombies technology, big metaphor for me. People send me pictures of zombies. That's all I get. I don't get any unicorns. I've missed.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm reading your book at the moment, which is a lovely book. If I can make some advertisement for your book now, it's amazing and people should get it. Mm-hmm.
That's very kind, very kind. We'll talk about your books in a second. I'm very keen to know, on behalf of our audience, if you're a startup, if you're an entrepreneur, and it sounds like, you know, if you want someone to help you, coach you, you know, your energy and passion and enthusiasm, it's exactly what you need. Where do you start? Where do you start helping a new business?
So me personally, how I work is there's no one fits all, because businesses are in different stages as well that work with me. I focus obviously on startups. but that can mean a lot of things. And there's actually different definitions, and even in different countries, what a startup is. In Italy, for example, it's saying startups needs to be a technology startup. For me, I see that even freelancers are a startup because they need to do the same thing. They need to pay taxes, they need to market themselves, they need to find clients, and they need to be this one person in all, HR, marketing, and designer, maybe, depending on what they do. Now, the first thing is to obviously evaluate, okay, at which stage are you, and what you need the most help with at the moment? Because you can obviously work with me for years if you like, but usually it's more, okay, I want to have a few sessions over a few months, if we're talking about the one-to-one work, and then it's really depending on where the startup is. But the main thing that everyone tells me, which apparently makes me a bit different apart from the unicorn madness, is that I make things easy for people. Okay, people have this massive cloud on top of their head because having your own business is very overwhelming, also for me still, because there's so many things to do, and especially if you're a solopreneur and not maybe an entire team, it's even more different. But you have this massive cloud above your head with all the things that are involved, and you just don't see clearly where to start, and you don't see clearly what should be the first step after the next. And I'm very good at looking at that and picking out the things and putting them into a clear action plan. And then they say, actually, yeah, that's right. And this is maybe the first thing to do. Okay, at which stage are you, and what's the main goal that you want to have? So also goal setting and stuff, and then looking at all the things that you think you need to do, and look, okay, what do you actually need to do first? You probably have to do it all at some point, but what do you have to do first, to forget about the other things and don't feel so stressed? And then we work towards other things. I've worked with a company that was established for 25 years. It wasn't a startup, and there the need was more, okay, we need some clarity in the business structure itself, but also obviously for the marketing is also what I do. But for a startup, where should you start? Get everything out of your head and on a piece of paper, writing all the things down you think you should do. And then there is probably more that you have to do that you haven't thought of and you will come across. Have the mindset of, okay, let's tackle one thing at a time, single tasking, and put the priorities in. And how to prioritize is a whole another topic. If we have time later, we can talk about it a bit more, but make sure you prioritize to also not damage your health, because a lot of people are just working and forget that there's no work. Also because they're so passionate about the business that they don't see it as work when they do something, but you need to find other things outside of work. And then set yourself a goal, long-term goal, and then take out milestones, smaller goals, short-term goals, whatever you want to call them. And out of this, create action steps. This is the whole point of setting goals, because if you don't put action steps in place, you will never achieve the goals because you don't know which way to go and how to get there. So get this cloud clear by putting it all on paper, prioritize it, and then take one step at a time is my tip. If you can, get someone to help you.
Now, Christine, before we come to the end of today's show, books. I'm sitting with authors. I'm surrounded by authors. Nick has written books. You've written a lot of books. You're going to be kind of, going for pretty, well, how many books are you aiming for? What's next? What's next? What are you working on at the moment? I guarantee I'm going to ask the question, are you writing a book at the moment?
Of course.
I thought so.
Of course. Yes, I actually was also running a webinar for someone else on how to write a business book in 7 days. That was interesting because what I usually do is do that. After I structured and have a plan in place and I know what's going to get in there, then I just go into writing phase and write it all in let's say 7 or 10 days or something like that. And usually I go away for that. At the moment, obviously not possible. Yes, I'm currently working on books. How many books I'm aiming for, I don't know. I thought I aim for one. Then I thought, okay, I can write about this. And then people said, you need to write about that. And then I was like, but there's so many out there. But everyone can say this. There's books about everything. There's millions of people that support people starting their own business. So never get discouraged by that. Give it your twist, put in your knowledge. It's just another marketing tool for me as well, and helping people that maybe can't afford working with me one-to-one, but get all the knowledge in a book, for example. You can also recycle all the content into a podcast, into an audiobook, into a Kindle book, into a printed book, into an online course, into a webinar, into a short speech, whatever you want to do. But having a book written gives you kind of an authority as well, and shows you know what you're talking about. When I want to work with the new clients, I sometimes send them a batch of some of the books, because like you said, it's too many by now, but some of the books I think might be relevant, I send to them, and they see, Christine knows what she's talking about. And it's like a little reminder, okay, you might want to work with me. I'm working at the moment on a few ideas, but also with the books, I went down to single tasking and trying to work just on one book at a time. I'm working on something on happiness. I'm working something on leadership, and I'm working on something that's completely out of there, and which I'm doing more for myself, and think, okay, if I get it nicely printed, that's nice. But everyone I talk to about this says, oh, I would buy that. Is a book working title, Holistic Healing. I learned a lot about aromatherapy, crystals, living with the moon cycles, reflexology, chromotherapy, herbs, that kind of stuff. And if you have an issue, the idea is you just go, okay, this is the issue. What can I do? What herb is good for my cough? What kind of essential oil can I use, and how can I use it? And what kind of crystals might help me? So it's something completely different. And like I said, it's more a selfish reason why I do this. But there is some other business book. How many? I don't know, until I run out of ideas.
Wow. It's been a pleasure having you on the show this afternoon. Just like we said to Glenys, we will get you back, hopefully when we find out our technical issues. So, Christine, from me and from Nick, I'm sure, thank you so much for joining us. And we will catch up with you again soon. I've read a few of your books. I've got a few more to get through before, and probably the time I catch up, you'll have the next one, and it'll be like painting the bridge. I'll be starting at one end, and by the time I get to the end, I'll have something else for me to follow. So, Christine, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. You can go backstage, and Glenys is still there, actually. You can go and say hi to Glenys backstage in the green room.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Well, Nick, there we go. We are coming very close to today's show. Wow, what a roller coaster it's been. I've been seeing the frozen pictures of me with my mouth gawping open, my eyes popping out my head. It's been quite entertaining, actually, you know, looking at myself frozen there. So I'm going to just say one final thing as an apology to all our listeners and viewers out there, that it has been a little bit of a challenging event for us. But we always said, didn't we, Nick, when we did this, we wanted to be different, and we wanted to do a live stream and bring our guests onto the show. And we kind of branded this up that anything can happen. The business show where anything can happen. And today that has been the case.
It certainly has. Great guests have pulled us through our technical issues. I don't think Christine's ever going to run out of ideas, so I imagine she's going to be writing books for some long time to come. Great advice. If you're going to commit to putting content into a book, for example, repurpose that content. Is there a podcast? Is there a webinar? Is there, a whole raft of other products that you could create associated with the knowledge that's going into that book? I know with Modern Zombies, very much the case. There's lots of other products to come out of that piece of work. Looks like it could be frozen there, David. Oh my goodness! So let me finish up the show. What an international show it has been. We've had technical issues from our man in Spain. We've had a lovely German speaking from Italy. Both Glenys and I are in the UK, but definitely different parts of it. And we may have got away with it. I'm not sure, but keep watching. Same time next week, 4 o'clock until 5 o'clock, the show where absolutely anything can happen.
Goodbye, all.